Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to a surprise episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight, we are recapping with spoilers, spoiler-filled recap and review and reaction to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse from Earth 928 to Earth 42 and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, Steve Haller. What's up, Steve? Did you see a movie tonight?
Yes, I did. And I was, I was blown away by said movie.
Yeah.
So much so that I texted Mike and was like, emergency pod? Let's do this.
Yeah, we're talking tonight. I got some things to say.
Yep.
So, if you're just seeing this in your feed and you have not seen Across the Spider-Verse yet, you should know that you should not listen to this. First off, you should know
if you were planning on watching it,
listening.
do not listen.
Yeah.
If you were not planning on watching, go watch.
Yeah. Also, you can listen to a spoiler-free reaction in our main episode that we recorded Sunday night. That should be in your feed right now. So go back and listen to that if you want my non-spoiler thoughts. But now that Steve has seen it, this is going to be a rant and a rave full of spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot to spoil in this movie. So get out of here now if you haven't seen it. And now that warning is laid down, Steve, I talked on our last episode, so you got to kick this off, man. You know that I loved it and we can get into details, but hit me with your thoughts, your feels, your off the dome reaction. Hit me.
I mean, that was kind of it, was the feels. Like, that movie hit the right emotional notes, hit the right action notes, hit the right absolutely beautiful animation notes. Incredible. And the combination of the three was just like out of this world. I mean, everybody puts Into the Spider-Verse on a pedestal, rightly so. I just saw it, so I'm not going to say the words, but it may or may not be better than the original.
I know.
I can't commit to it just from the newness, but because I watched Into the Spider-Verse with my son 2 nights ago, right? And I realized, I mean, I've watched it umpteen times. It still holds up every single viewing.
Every time.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I watched it with my son and my wife like a week before we went to see Across the Spider-Verse, or a little more than a week maybe. Mm-hmm. And then tonight, those of you that are also in the Syracuse, New York area, you know that
the outside doesn't happen.
Yeah. Because there's apparently some wildfires in Canada that are wafting down and hitting central New York in a big way, and it smells like everyone blew out their birthday candles at the same time, and it's like an orange haze. So it's unhealthy to breathe.
Well, that's my voice right now. You might notice it's a little deeper. I was outside all day for work.
Ugh, rough, dude.
Yeah,
that sucks. But anyway, because we knew we couldn't play outside, we were like, let's have a movie night. We're staying inside. What do you want to watch? And he said, I want to watch Into the Spider-Verse. And we said,
that's
okay.
Great.
So we watched half of it, and I just saw it a week ago, and I'm still like, yep, this movie is awesome. Like, yeah.
Well, so, we watched Into yesterday, and then when he was done, my son immediately was like, is there another one?
Yeah.
I was like, well, buddy, we'll see it sometime. Little did we know his T-ball game got canceled today.
Oh, sure.
So my wife texted me and was like, hey, you want to go see that? I was like, yes, I do. So awesome. Sprinted back from work and went and saw it.
It was cool going back to rewatch Into the Spider-Verse and see all the continuity that they nailed of Across the Spider-Verse. The spider is glitching as it's on its way to bite Miles, or as Miles going back to check it, it's glitching, which never occurred to me that, it's glitching because it's from another universe. The spider that bites Miles is from another universe, which they make clear in Across the Spider-Verse, but then you go back to Into Spider, you're like, of course it is, because it's glitching. It's right there. It glitches as he goes to back check and be like, no, this is such a normal spider. It's boring how normal this spider is. I was like, oh, yeah, when you're in a different universe, you glitch, unless you got one of those magic watches. So, and then like the whole thing about the Spot saying, "You hit me with a bagel." We were like, we got to watch who gets the bagel. There he is. That's him. That's him. It's just a background guy, but you're like, oh, that's the guy that becomes the main villain.
Yep.
But
Well,
he's
and
also
that
not the
whole
main
thing,
villain.
like,
Isn't that weird? How cool is the Spot? How
that was great. Like, and
Yeah.
how it started, and for it to, I mean, the Spot being like what
A joke.
C-list,
He's a joke in the beginning.
D-list, mentioned
Yeah.
in the books somewhere.
Right. Yeah. See, I wasn't even sure if he was in the books.
I
didn't know
believe
if
he
was
was.
possibly made up for this movie. And I think I vaguely remember him being, but yeah, like super D-list villain. And he starts out that way. And even in the trailers kind of made him look like a joke. And he certainly starts out like a joke. But then by the end of this movie, you're like, oh shit, this is a problem. This is a problem. And his intensity is just, he doesn't even have that much screen time.
No.
And he goes away for a long time when they're in with Miguel in the Spider HQ there, or whatever, that world. He's not any part of the movie for a long time. Then when he comes back, you're like, oh shit, this is the thrust of number 3 of Beyond the Spider-Verse here.
Yeah, he's been both a Spidey and Daredevil villain.
Oh, okay.
Did not know that.
Wow, that's cool.
It might have been in an era that I didn't read. But yeah, either way, it was just like when they told that origin story, because I having just watched it less than 24 hours ago,
right?
They pieced it all together, and I was like, oh yeah,
like, okay, I buy this.
Cool.
Like it's not like they set it up really into the Spider-Verse, but
no,
they thread it enough, and I'm just like, I completely buy this. I completely buy this. Of course, they tried the Collider once before the time we saw them try it. Like, yeah, and the spider came through. Yeah, it's enough. It works perfectly. Yeah, so let's keep going. What else? We talked about the Spot. We're talking about how the continuity is great. Let's go. Let's keep going. I love.
Well, even the way it starts right off with the Gwen story, and you get deeper into that and fill in those blanks, and like the way they bury the lead on why she's not visiting Peter.
Right.
Through the whole literally,
Miles,
Miles. Why her and Peter are not visiting Miles. There we go. I was like, I know he's involved somewhere. But yeah, that it was so well done for them to hold it as long as they did and actually like make it pay off in the end. Yeah.
I know, because they kept hinting at like, okay, there's definitely a reason why they can't just visit Miles.
Right.
And especially when you get to the Spider-Verse headquarters, I don't know, I can't remember the name of it. That's just what I keep calling it.
Right.
And there's so many other Spider people there. You're like, okay, there definitely has to be a reason that they can't see Miles. Like, oh, it's because he is, like Miguel calls him, the original anomaly. Like he was turned into a Spider-Man by a spider that was not from his universe or his dimension, and therefore he cannot be a part of this in any way. But just so cool. Like, and while, I mean, okay, well, you mentioned Gwen. Let's talk about Gwen.
Okay.
I love that opening. I did think the fight with Vulture, I thought was a little long. Like when I said in my spoiler-free review that I thought it could have been trimmed a little bit, I felt like I was like, I would rather have more like story motion right here than just like an elongated fight with Vulture. I still thought it was cool and looked cool, and like the Leonardo da Vinci style animation was awesome.
Yeah, I got a hunch it was like, well, we can't cut that. It looks so damn cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we spent so much money on this.
Like you said, the contrasting. You had that Da Vinci stuff. You had Miguel with the 2099 look. You had like everything going at each other.
Ben Reilly that looks like he's just drawn in a 90s comic book.
Ben Reilly might as well have been Rob Liefeld's come to life.
Right, like they hired him.
He needed a couple more pouches. Like that's about all he needed to be straight out of the 90s.
Yeah, I know. So good. So good. I loved initially more Gwen stuff. I loved that Captain Stacy was a big part of the movie. There is a theory going around on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen this, Steve, that Gwen is trans.
I did see that.
If you look, it
like I 100% see where they're picking up on that.
It holds some water. She has a protect trans kids poster in her room. Not
Yep.
that you have to be trans to. I have a shirt that says "Protect Trans Kids." You know,
Right.
you don't have to be trans to, be an
I have
ally.
a trans flag
But
D&D T-shirt. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have an awesome D&D t-shirt. Yeah, but like the colors of her universe often are the same colors as the trans flag. That's emotional speech that she gives to her father at the end. She's like drenched in those colors, that light blue, the pink,
Yep.
and the white. Like that's like literally reflecting the flag in her hair. And that speech is about like, I can't help but be who I am. This is who I am. This is who I'm trying to be.
right.
And also the detail that someone on Twitter pointed out, that Captain Stacy on his uniform has a trans flag pinned to his shoulder of his uniform. And like,
Mhm.
what cop is going to put a trans flag on their shoulder unless they have a personal connection to a trans person? It's not like,
Right.
Police officers aren't necessarily known for supporting just outwardly supporting LGBTQ pride rights,
Right.
on their uniforms. So I
Yeah,
don't know. I
public
think
servants
that
in
holds
general are
water.
not known for like slapping things all over themselves, saying, "I
Yeah,
support all
exactly.
this other stuff."
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I thought that was cool. And certainly, it doesn't take away from anything in the film. And
Oh no, it was a nice little nod. Like
it
that
was certainly a nice little nod. And I would be surprised if they came out and made that
No, I
clear.
think it was very
I
much
don't
an
think they
ambiguous,
will.
just like Mark Hamill when back in the I think it was early 2000s.
Oh yeah,
Somebody
when he
asked him in
said,
an interview if Luke was gay, and
yeah,
his response was, "If you think he's gay, then sure.
yeah,
Like
yeah, because
whatever
right.
your interpretation of that, that's what the character can be."
Yeah, I know. I remember first time I saw that video, I thought it was great.
Yeah,
When he said
it was.
they never specified it one way or the other. So if you think he's gay, yeah, he's gay.
Yeah.
Anyway, loved Gwen, loved
Yes.
all that stuff, and like I said, like it's almost a Gwen movie. Like she's a big part of the first one too, but the first one, the more of the emotional connection is Miles and Peter B. Parker, and like their like
Mhm.
teacher-student relationship, and she doesn't come in until as Spider-Woman until later. She's it's
Gwanda, please.
Gwanda, yeah. But she has a real character arc and a real emotional thrust of the story hangs on Gwen, which I think is awesome. And her relationship with Miles, we get a little bit more of that too, which I think is great. Yeah, okay, so the Spot, he goes into the universe. Let's talk about Miguel. What do you think about Miguel O'Hara?
So Miguel O'Hara is dark and brooding. Miguel O'Hara
Yeah.
in this is even more dark and brooding.
He is like straight Batmaning in
Oh,
this
100%.
movie. He is the Batman of Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's
And I
no Bruce
forgot-
Wayne. It's straight up Batman.
Yeah. I forgot that he's a vampire.
Yeah.
Like,
well, but like part of
Yeah,
his
not a-
transformation. Because for anyone who doesn't know, he's not like a normal Spider-Man.
Right.
Like he can't shoot webs. He can't do he doesn't have he has the super strength and the speed, I think.
Yeah.
And that's it. And like got a couple other augmentations, like I think red laser eyes or something weird, or red
Does he have
vision.
a spider sense?
He does not have a spider sense.
He does not have a spider sense. Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
But like is aided by tech stuff like Lila, his assistant there, and that sort of thing. Different take on the character, really unique, really interesting in the books, or can be interesting in the books. He's had some shaky runs too, but just like any character that's been around longer than a run.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but like, yeah, I don't know. It was a really cool interpretation of him, and also that Oscar Isaac is now the only 3-time Marvel character.
Wow.
Because he was Apocalypse.
Yep. And he's Moon Knight, and he's Miguel O'Hara. Well, I guess because he voiced Miguel O'Hara in the post-credit scene. So
right.
He always was. I guess he was when Moon Knight came out. He was. But yeah, there's no one that's done 3 different. Not off the top of my head, I can't think.
No.
Also with Star Wars, he just he's got to land a DC role so he can have all 3 main universes.
Yeah, between him and Pedro Pascal, they're just taking all the nerd money.
Oh, I know. Yeah, just raking it in. Yeah, I thought he was great, and it's really it's like a magic trick that this movie pulls, well, like there's 1,000 magic tricks that this movie pulls off. But one of them is there's not, I mean, there is and there isn't like a big bad villain of this movie. Like they set it up like, oh, the Spot is this joke villain that's becoming an increasingly harder villain to track down. But then as they're looking for him, the movie kind of switches to having Miguel O'Hara be the antagonist because he wants to stop Miles from saving his dad.
To protect the canon.
Yeah. And so you almost forget about the Spot during that segment because it becomes so much about, I need to save my dad. You're not going to let me. Nah, I'm going to do my own thing. Like that whole sequence is so awesome. And then you're like, oh, then like the Spot crawls out and he's black with white spots and he's just headed towards the city. And you're like, oh, I almost forgot about that, guys. This is bad. This is going to be bad.
I had so many Absolute Carnage type vibes just by the art they used for Spot.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever read that run. I can't remember who the artist was on it, but like the depiction was very much, and like even like the way they depicted the spots was very similar to like what some of the Cletus type things were.
Yeah, like tendrils and stuff.
Yeah,
on Carnage. There's like swirls and stuff going around him and stuff. Yeah, it was really cool. Speaking of that I thought this while I was watching it, and you know, like we complain about X-Men movies, like the only thing that the only story that X-Men movies could ever think to tell was like Dark Phoenix stories.
Yeah,
like, that's the only thing that was like, we got to do this. And I feel like sometimes Spider-Man material goes straight to black costume Venom stuff, whether it's Toby, you know, we're getting hints of it with the Tom Holland stuff now, or like cartoons, like it's all like the video game that's coming out. It's just like, nah, we got to do Venom, got to do Venom, got to do Venom. Not even a hint. Well, besides the cameo where the Spot goes to Venom's universe. But as far as like, we're in that big, like, you know, Spider-Verse headquarters, not even a hint of a black costume.
Oh no, there were a couple
anything.
There were a couple black costumes.
But were they like symbiote black costumes? Because I didn't see anything like that. I didn't think I saw any hint of like a symbiote.
I know I saw one that was like the classic black suit.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was like it might have been in a flash or a corner or something. It wasn't.
Yeah.
They definitely didn't have any that were like there.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Because there were a bunch they featured and like told you names of and that sort of thing.
Right.
And there was never anything where they were at the forefront. But I remember seeing like one in the background somewhere. And
okay.
Like
I just think it's cool that like they're not even thinking about doing anything like that. Right. They're not even thinking about introducing a symbiote costume or anything. Like,
by the way, I looked up the pencils on that Absolute Carnage run. It was Cates and Stegman, and that is 100% Stegman art. Like thinking on it, I'm like, yep, that makes sense. So
yeah.
The Lego scene,
dude,
my son lost it.
So did my son. And so did I.
Yeah.
So did my wife. It was so funny.
Yep.
So funny.
I had an ear-to-ear grin, and he was just like, ah!
Yeah. Spider-Man India, so cool.
Yeah, that was great.
Cool. Animation's incredible. This is where the traffic is. The traffic's over here too, and we keep the traffic over here. Like, it's super funny, so funny. And the idea of canon events and not changing canon events, like a Captain Stacy dying, or you know, an Uncle Ben, or I would assume a Gwen Stacy in those universes. Like, I thought that was cool. It was kind of like Doctor Who-y. Like, there's a fixed point in time. We can't do anything about it. Like, it's a canon event. It's got to happen. I think that's really cool. And I don't know, in the comic books, does Miles' dad die in the books?
Yeah, Jeff Davis does.
He does. Okay, because I know he did in the video game, and I know, obviously, I know Uncle Aaron dies in the book, so I didn't know if the dad did also. Okay. Okay, so they're following that right along, but like what? I don't know, just like what a cool like what a perfect motivation, a perfect reason for him to be at odds with the other spider people.
Right.
A reason for him to have to rebel and need to do his own thing, and like, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. Oh, I know I care more about my family and the people that I love more than I want to be a part of it. Like that's like a realization of this isn't what I thought, and my family means more to me and is more important. Like such a great, like it just makes so much sense. It's not just like, yeah, you got to fight this bad guy because he's being bad. You know, like it's they really are able to keep that human connection and human story alive and make sense and make his motivation grounded in his family and his love and like reality, and not just like I'm motivated because I'm supposed to be motivated to fight this bad guy. No, I'm motivated because my dad's gonna die. Like he's going to die if I don't do something. What'd you just read? You saw your face
because when you asked about his dad, my brain was like, it doesn't sound right after I said it, but it's a bit of a spoiler, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, then don't tell me.
Yeah, so his dad doesn't die.
Like you think it's going to be a spoiler for like what they're going to do in Beyond the Spider-Verse?
I think yeah. Have you read any of the Bendis run or anything?
I've read like the first like few issues of the Miles Morales, but not enough to get to. I don't think I even got to the reveal of Uncle Aaron being Prowler. Right. I don't think.
Which we'll get to more on the Prowler later.
Yeah, we will.
A couple times actually.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, you think it could be a spoiler, but also like they could do literally anything.
Yeah.
This is like their own story. I wouldn't be surprised if they stray from.
So it's Rio who dies in the books.
Oh, okay.
But I think she dies like saving Jeff, or there was something.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm wondering if they go to that fixed point in time where his dad is supposed to die, right? And then instead his mom died, kind of a No Way Homey type.
I don't know. I can't. I don't know if they would do that.
Yeah,
I don't know if they would do that. I think it's he's gonna save. He's gonna save them both, or I mean, I guess one of them's gonna die. You know, I don't think it's gonna be a switcheroo. Let's talk cameos and Easter eggs.
So many of them.
Cameos. So many. I'm gonna go right to the top of my list as far as cameos. Donald Glover.
Oh, there were me and two other people in the studio or in the theater were just like, ha!
Yeah, there were. I was one of them. Audible gasps.
Yeah.
In the studio. Because those of you that are listening that maybe don't realize this, Donald Glover plays Aaron Davis, uncle to. Well, there's a couple of reasons why this is a big deal. There's a couple of reasons why it's a big deal. The most immediate one, Donald Glover is in Spider-Man: Homecoming, the first Spider-Man MCU film. In that movie, he plays Aaron Davis, and he mentions that he has a nephew in the neighborhood. And nerds around the world, when they saw that movie, thought, oh, he's talking about Miles.
Right.
So yeah, so Aaron Davis is canonically alive in the MCU, and he's played by Donald Glover. So this clearly is a universe where that Aaron Davis became the Prowler, and now he's imprisoned in this,
whatever
cage
thing
or whatever
they
have. So cool, like such a Roger Rabbit
in
thing,
a Prowler costume.
In a comic accurate Prowler costume, the green and the purple. So cool to see the mixed live action with animation. Like,
oh, it threw me off the first time they panned over to Andrew's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa, that took me out a little. Oh, okay, that's actually really cool.
So cool. Yeah, when they're saying like the Uncle Ben, you see Toby in that scene too.
Yeah,
there's a screen that shows Toby and his Uncle Ben. Also.
Yeah, so you see the Andrew Uncle Ben, and you see the Andrew Officer Stacy.
Yes. Yep. That's true.
And then Toby Uncle Ben.
Yep.
And does Holland show up anywhere?
No,
I was going to say I didn't see Holland.
They referenced in the opening scene during the fight with Vulture. Miguel O'Hara says, "Don't get me started on the Doctor Strange and that nerd from Universe 1999 or whatever."
Yep.
So they reference him, but he's not. He was the only one that's not in it, which I thought was strange. Like you couldn't throw his face up on one of those screens or whatever.
I mean, it might have been because they had the Donald Glover thing, like tying those movies into.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The other reason, just real quick, the other reason for people that don't know, the other reason it's great that Donald Glover is in this movie is that long time ago, after it was announced that Sam Raimi was not going to make Spider-Man 4 and that they were going to reboot, which ended they're going to reboot the franchise that turned into the Andrew Garfield movies with Mark Webb. A guy named Mark Bernardin wrote an article about how there's no reason that Peter Parker needs to be a white kid. It actually makes probably more sense if he's black, considering where he's from, his economic status, like the things that he deals with. Like Peter Parker should be a black guy. There's no reason that Peter Parker needs to be white. Nothing within his character needs him to be white. Donald Glover saw that article and shared it, and then people started saying Donald Glover for Spider-Man, Donald Glover for Spider-Man, so much so that like he's in that show Community. There's like an episode or two where he's wearing a Spider-Man shirt in reference to this online campaign. They don't cast him. They go with Andrew Garfield. But he ends up showing up down the line in Homecoming. But because of that article, because of that campaign, Brian Michael Bendis says, you know what? He's right. There is no reason that Spider-Man can't be black. And so he decides to create the character of Miles Morales. So without this article being written, without Donald Glover sharing it and trying to be cast as Spider-Man, Miles Morales doesn't exist. So putting him in as Aaron Davis is a reference to that. Yep. Putting him in as Aaron Davis as this movie is even a better reference. And shout out to commentator Coy Jandreau, who made this point. It's like, so it's a big meta